at 131.33. Okay, position opened again, new position opened for British pound at 131.333. Okay. Hi, Sinatanda. We don't give you any advice. This channel more for professional traders, so you need to look for other company who will give you advice if you want to buy or sell gold. With day trading, so we don't really care what's going to happen in 2 months or 1 month's time. So you better look for other advice.
To innovation.
A whole new arms race could start.
And we'll get your perspective too, with help from the artificial intelligence of IBM Watson. I'm John Donvan. Join us for That's Debatable, presented by Bloomberg and Intelligence Squared, Friday on Bloomberg Television.
It's really a reminder, isn't it, just how sensitive the markets are to any commentary about trade. We did see some pressure on the yuan, we did see some pressure on the futures. That is now being reversed.
This is Bloomberg Surveillance. I'm Rishika Gupta with your Bloomberg Business Flash. Shares of T-Mobile are rising today. The company carrier beat earnings estimates and raised its forecast for the year. T-Mobile is the fastest growing wireless carrier in the US. Its merger with Sprint helped vault the company into the #2 spot in the country, behind Verizon and ahead of AT&T. British luxury boutique platform Farfetch is getting some big-name backers as it expands into China. Alibaba and Richemont have agreed to invest $1.1 billion. That will give the two companies a 25% stake in Farfetch China, with an option to increase their holdings later. Farfetch helps luxury clothing boutiques around the world sell online. Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess is warning the automaker's employees to start rethinking their business. It has electric cars, but is well behind Tesla, and it has massive manufacturing scale, but needs to think of cars as rolling software devices. The fear is that VW could become the equivalent of Nokia, a failed hardware maker, surpassed by more tech-savvy upstarts. And that's your latest Business Flash. Francine.
Ritika, thanks so much. Now, as we continue to track the virus, Bloomberg has developed a unique partnership with the leading authority on COVID-19. Johns Hopkins has been at the forefront of the international response, and every day we bring insight from experts in public health, infectious disease, and emergency preparedness. Well, I'm delighted today to be joined by Andrew Pekosh, Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health professor and virologist. Andrew, as we're all watching the race in the U.S., what are you watching in terms of the number of cases of people infected with COVID-19 in the U.S.?
Well, we've reached really incredible numbers of COVID-19 cases. We've had 2 consecutive days of over 100,000 new cases across the U.S. And at this rate, by the time I talk to you next Friday, we may be at 10 million cases within the U.S. alone. And again, those are just astounding numbers. And we're not seeing the types of public health intervention responses that we need to turn the corner on this, based on policies that are coming from both the federal government as well as from many state governments.
Do you expect a change of tone or a change in how we deal with COVID-19 in the U.S. if there's a change in president?
Well, I think everything that's been talked about within the campaign suggests that yes. But the important thing to remember, though, is that while the election is going on this week, the change in presidency won't happen until the middle of January. And so we've got these winter months, which are looking like the case numbers are increasing at a tremendous rate. And those need to be dealt with on a sooner basis rather than waiting for the change in administration. So that's the real concern. You know, we're going to see hospitalization rates lag behind case rates. So we're seeing some hospitalization rates go up in various states now. That's only going to continue to rise. And it's that burden on the medical infrastructure that is going to be the really critical thing that's going to be dealt with over the next couple of weeks.
But Andrew, if you look at the hospitalization rate compared to the number of infections rising, it seems to be actually less violent in terms of the number of people that end up in hospital than it was back in March and April. Why?
So it's an important point. Some of those fatality rates and some of the hospitalization rates are a little bit lower now. There may be a few reasons for that. Number one, the demographics of the people who are getting infected is turning into a younger age. And we know that in younger age groups, the disease severity rate is reduced. It's not zero, and it's still very significant, but it's not as high as it is in the elderly, for instance. And then secondly, the fatality rate is getting lower too, because the medical institutions in the United States have really learned a lot during the first wave of COVID-19 cases, and they've really learned how to take care of the seriously ill patients, and that turns into much better outcomes overall. So there are certain things that we're better prepared for now. I think the medical infrastructure is better prepared to deal with cases. Surges, there are plans in place at least to have secondary hospitals open up and secondary beds open up. But the important thing to remember, though, is we don't need to be preparing at that level. The public health interventions that we know work, the physical distancing, the avoiding large crowds, wearing face coverings, those are the things that we know can reduce the total number of cases, and that has the trickle-down effect of then reducing the severe cases and the hospitalizations and the overall deaths. And that's the place where we really need to make a stronger effort here in the U.S. and perhaps globally as well.
Andrew, what's your expectation about a vaccine? I know, we've entered stage 3 trials. Is a vaccine to make sure that people don't get the disease, or would it be enough if the vaccine basically reduces your chances of getting into hospital?
Yeah, great question. We expect over the next few weeks to start to hear the preliminary reports from the vaccine studies that are going on right now. We won't have the final reports for some time now, but we'll at least get the first 10,000, the first 20,000 individuals who have gotten the vaccine and have a better understanding about the safety and how your immune response, how great your immune response is to that vaccine. That should set the stage for us to really understand what these vaccines are going to be doing in terms of a public health intervention. Ideally, we hope to see a relatively high immune response and a high vaccine efficacy rate, because that will limit the number of cases that are spreading, as well as disease severity. But it may be that the effect is going to be a little bit more on disease severity, meaning that we still may be getting people who are infected, but they'll be able to deal with the disease better because they've already got a primed immune system. And once they get infected, their immune response will rev up much faster. So that's really the critical things. And we're going to start seeing those preliminary reports over the next few weeks. And that will really set the stage for how these vaccines are going to be rolled out. But that probably won't happen until the new year.
Andrew, in 30 seconds, are you comfortable once we have the solution that we'll be able to distribute it okay?
Yeah, many people have been working on the distribution networks. I think that it's really going to be a question of prioritizing populations. Who's going to get the vaccine first? Because we can't immunize everybody at the same time. And various states are putting in place their plans for priority populations, so that once the vaccine becomes available, you can relatively quickly move those into vaccine distribution networks. We have influenza vaccine distribution as a model for that, and hopefully that will be done very efficiently.
Andrew, thank you so much. Andrew Pekos there of Johns Hopkins, and be sure to check out VRUS Go on the Bloomberg for the latest information. You can also tune in every day for our exclusive conversation with experts. Of course, we continue to look at the final results of the U.S. election, all still in play. This is Bloomberg.
Okay, I'm placing stop on profit for British pound again. At 131, we'll put 313. Yeah, right here. Okay.
Ada 3 kelompok pengungsi tersebut yang sudah berpencar arah. Kemudian kami dari Polsek Banda Sakti berkoordinasi dengan perangkat desa Kampung Jomblang melakukan upaya pengumpulan secara persuasif serta minta tolong kepada warga. Alhamdulillah warga yang terpecah semuanya berkumpul.
Position closed on British pound at 131.313, as you can see, right here. How long we've been trading? I've been trading these for 15 minutes. This is what it's called day trading. That's it.
Is the real key here, and what the market wants to see is something that is orderly.
We could be still living in this uncertain environment around the stimulus for a while.
The biggest downside risk is that we get divided government and gridlock.
The longer the uncertainty, the more the stimulus talk is going to be delayed. People are going to worry about growth again.
The economy is slowing to noticeably below the consensus expectation.
The Fed has a very tough job right now. They're basically, you're out of tools.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. A lot of regions may see double dips.
This is Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene, Jonathan Farrell.